Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wise Up, a finance podcast made by and for Gens Y and Z to help you be better with money. Now, today I'm going to be picking up kind of on a topic that was addressed momentarily last week with Professor James Aaron Brown. The entire concept of going to college, getting a degree, versus, say, technical trade schools. The trade-offs that exist there, your earnings potential, potential debt, all of the money aspects of that financial decision. Before we get started, as always, if you're a repeat listener, I appreciate the support. If you are new here, wherever you may be listening or watching us, please do me a favor, follow the channel, subscribe to it, share it with friends, like it, leave a review. It'll help us continue to grow and get it out to as many people as possible. Now, on the topic of university, I am perceivably reasonably biased. I, after all, have 2 degrees over my shoulders. I teach on a contract basis at a public university. You would think that I would be here to stump, largely speaking, for going to college, going to university, getting a degree, going that, let's say, traditional route. And on a very basic level, kind of. See, because it is true, according to data that we can get from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, that people with higher education levels have higher pays. For instance, people with doctorate degrees, professional degrees, like a JD, on average earn in the mid to high 90s in terms of their annual salary. People with less than a high school diploma on average will make $30,800. People with a high school diploma will make around $38,800. People with some college but no degree will make around $43,300. People with an associate's degree will make around $46,100. People with a master's degree will make about $77,800. And people with a bachelor's degree, people who finish undergrad, will make around $65,000, $64,900 if we're being more accurate. So, on its face value, the general societal recommendation that you finish high school and go to college makes sense. Statistically speaking, yes. You go to school, you get your degrees, you get paid more. Simple enough. Cool. That was a fun episode. I'll see you guys on Friday. But let me spend a little bit of time throwing caveats in there and delving into issues that perhaps aren't as broadly covered. Now, again, as we can clearly see, on average, you'll make more depending on the level of education that you attain. However, first things first, not all degrees are created equally. Now, as an average human being that doesn't know you, I'm not your friend, family, whomever, I am in no position to tell you to change your degrees, your majors. Not going to tell you what to like. If you don't like a subject, you don't like a subject. I can't force you otherwise. However, as the resident finance guy, I can tell you that financially you may be making a horrible decision, and that from a financial standpoint you may want to reconsider. Let me delve into why. College is not cheap. Now, the average private university, college, will set people back, as of the 2022-2023 school year, $39,723 a year. That's quite a bit of money. The average public university for out-of-state students will cost roughly $22,953. And the average public in-state tuition cost will be about $10,423. So between public in-state and private, even if it's in-state, it's about a 4x difference. That's a significant amount, but you would hope, hopefully the degree I'm getting makes this worthwhile, that I will be making more after getting my degree than I did pay in the process of getting the degree. And that really is where the issue begins. See, because there are obviously some great majors to have if you're getting an undergraduate degree. We look at the top 10 top paying salaries just with an undergraduate degree, because if we throw in professional and graduate degrees, this data gets skewed. Just with people who have a bachelor's degree, average salary 5 years out of school. They are all STEM. All the top 10 median salaries, the top 10 highest median salaries are from STEM majors. You have number 1, computer engineering. Tied for number 2, chemical engineering, aerospace engineering, electrical engineering, computer science. After that, industrial engineering, then mechanical engineering, miscellaneous engineering, civil engineering, and general engineering. Basically, if you want a really good job out of college with just a bachelor's degree, get an engineering degree. Come on, we all knew that STEM was going to rank high on this list. I've been hearing learn to code for years. I tried, I made a good faith effort. My first job in high school was as a web design intern. I did my best. I didn't love it. Still have some skills for it. Who knows if I ever need those. But you know what? People say learn to code because it will continue to be a booming aspect of society, and it pays well. So consider it. We look at the lowest paying majors. Bottom 10. As a surprise to no one, most of these are liberal arts and social sciences. The worst paying from, let's say an ascending order. The lowest paying to the 10th lowest paying. The lowest paying major out there is family and consumer sciences, with an average annual salary 5 years out of school of $32,000. After that, we have general social sciences, from there performing arts, social services, anthropology, early childhood education, theology and religion, psychology, liberal arts, foreign language, English language, miscellaneous biological sciences, leisure and hospitality, and fine arts. All of those, 5 years out of university, will pay you $38,000 a year or less on average. You remember how a private university annually costed about $39K, right? $39,700. If you're getting one of these bottom-paying degrees, you make less 5 years out of school annually than you paid annually to get the degree. To say that that ensures that that trade-off is never worth it and that you probably spend a significant portion of your life in debt would be an understatement. So I will appeal to you. Unless you're getting obscene amounts of scholarships, not loans, scholarships, grants, whatever it is, don't go to a private school. Respectfully. It's not worth it financially given the high cost. But even if you're going to a out-of-state public school, where it's costing you about $22K, close to $23K, you're making less than twice annually on the high end what you pay annually. On the low end, you're making about 50% more annually than you paid to get the degree. And again, that's not a good thing, because generally, yes, living on campus and all those expenses are high. But I regret to inform you that living in the real world is significantly more expensive. So your overall expenses after you finish school don't go down compared to the time you were in school. Your best case scenario, if you are getting one of these horribly paying degrees, is that you go to public in-state school. And even then, guys, it just doesn't feel worth it. Sure, if you're paying $10,400 just in tuition, again, this doesn't take into account room and board, books, parking passes, because those are expensive. That's how most schools make money. That number continues to climb. It probably isn't worth it, financially speaking, to go into one of these majors. I obviously, like I said in the very beginning, as a average person, I can't talk you into or out of what you are passionate about. If you don't like engineering, you're not a math person, you don't like coding, I can't tell you to become a mechanical engineer. That would be disingenuous of me, because if you're not good at it and don't like it, you're not going to do well in the degree program. So obviously, it's a meaningless endeavor. But what I can do as a finance guy is say, listen, school is one of the biggest investments that you will make in life. For more reasons besides just monetarily, but I'll get to that later. If you are taking the time, because on average, a 4-year degree takes more than 6 years because people are very fun in enjoying the college life. If you're going to be spending that much going to school, you better make the investment worth it. And now the first step, truly, that you can take to really just alleviate, let's call it, the issues that you face is going to community college before, let's call it, your upperclassmen years at university. You're going to community college for a year or two, knocking out your general education courses, and then transferring to a university of your choosing. It will save you a significant amount of money, whereas the average in-state tuition for a public college is $10,400. The average tuition for a community college is about half, $5,300. Whereas the average out-of-state college fees, about $23,000. The average out-of-state community college fees are $8,900. So if you just spend 2 years going to community college, you will very likely save 5 figures compared to the average person. And if you're worried about, I don't know, the college experience, bro, it's still old teenagers, young adults going to community colleges too. It's not like social life dies. If you're worried about having people to make stupid decisions with, you'll find plenty in community college. Like, it's not a total drop off in social scene. You don't got to be worried about that. If the concern is how that looks, per se, on a transcript or when you graduate, having gone to a community college first, I will let you in on a little secret. Your undergraduate degree doesn't come with an asterisk that says, attended community college for first 2 years. It literally doesn't. That degree over my left shoulder, my undergraduate degree from the University of California, San Diego, on this day, nominated by the regents of the university, as nominated by the college that I was in, confer this degree and all of the privileges thereof, signed off by then Governor Jerry Brown, Chancellor of the University, the Provost, and I think one other person I'm forgetting the name of. It doesn't say University of California, San Diego, via College of the Canyons, Los Angeles Valley College, Los Angeles Mission College, Los Angeles Pierce College. I went to a lot of community colleges before I transferred. You wouldn't know it looking at my degree. It's a normal undergraduate degree that has one university's name on it. No one will be any of the wiser. You put it on a resume, you say that you have your undergraduate degree from the university that you graduated from. Not that you got your undergraduate degree from the university you graduated from, but first you went to community colleges. There's nothing shameful about going to community colleges. Doing so saved thousands of dollars, and because I was able to do well in community college, I was able to get scholarships that wouldn't have been available to me if I had gone straight out of high school. Because here's a very underdeveloped topic that we don't really talk about. Universities will, generally speaking, prefer to give scholarships and grants to transfer students than immediate high school students. And the reasoning is pretty obvious. If you can prove a certain level of expertise or proficiency at a higher level of education, they then assume that you will perform better than someone who has performed well at a lower level of education. It's Similar to, think of sports. Teams will look higher upon a prospect coming out of a higher ranked league than a lower ranked one. Now, if you put up, I'll use a basketball analogy here. If you average 28 points per game playing in the lowest rated league in the world versus you played in the Chinese Basketball Association, which I believe is the third ranked basketball league in the world, and put up the same 28 points per game, the NBA scouting departments will look at you, the guy who came from the Chinese Basketball Association, better because you've proved yourself at a higher level of competition. So if you go to community college, you spend 2 years there, a year there, however long it takes you, and you come out with a 3.5, and you're competing against a high school kid that has a 3.5, they'll prefer you, A, in overall terms of enrollment, and B, in terms of tuition and scholarships. When I transferred to the University of California, San Diego, I got a significant amount of my tuition paid by the university. Thankfully, I was able to make honor society in my years at community college. So it worked out for me. I was able to transfer with roughly a tuition equivalent to what my community college tuition was. And that was amazing. I was able to graduate without any student loan debt. I will get to student loan debt in a few minutes, too, because that's been a major news story in recent weeks due to the student loan forgiveness that was announced. But I'm going to continue on this general topic. When Professor Brown brought up the idea of going to a trade school instead of a university or going to community college, I completely agreed with him. Because, on average, trade schools, which are not an associate's degree, not a community college, a separate school, that are also referred to as vocational schools, technical institutes, career colleges, will cost you significantly less than a university and slightly more than a community college. For instance, the overall net price of a technical institute, of a trade school, of a career college, whatever you choose to call it, and this includes tuition, fees, books, supplies, other expenses. For a public 2-year trade school, $7,500. For a private for-profit 2-year school, $18,700. For a private not-for-profit 2-year, $20,400. So on average, even at the private level, these technical institutes will still cost you less than a public out-of-state school. Okay, well, Gabe, how much do tradesmen make? They can make a good amount of money. They really can. On average, I don't want to say on average, but let's say a good portion of these blue-collar workers who were able to get educations at career institutes, at technical colleges, can make upwards, let's say, of a $26 an hour salary, which compared to their compatriots, let's call them, who went into a social sciences or liberal arts major, are making a very pretty penny. I mean, we can go down the list of, let's say, the top 12 trades careers. A licensed practical nurse, $32 an hour. An HVAC technician, the people who install, repair your AC units, $25 an hour. Home inspectors, $26 an hour. Plumbers, $26 an hour. Electricians, $26 an hour is a recurring theme. But then they can also make significantly more. Respiratory therapists, people who work with patients that have difficulty breathing, can make a national average of $56.74 per hour. Construction managers can make $46 an hour. Dental hygienists make $42 an hour on average. The ultrasonographers make $36 an hour. Radiation therapists make $72.64 an hour on average. You can make very good money being a skilled tradesperson. Again, blue-collar workers, in terms of national salaries, can make a very good living. Nuclear power reactor operators make over $110,000 a year. You don't need a college degree in a traditional sense to make a good living. Yes, if we go back to that original point about how people with college degrees generally earn more than those who just finished high school, sure, but I'm not advocating that you finish high school or drop out of high school and then never learn anything ever again. I'm saying maybe don't go the traditional route of going into college and find something else that you enjoy. If you like working with your hands, a blue-collar worker can probably help you earn as much, if not more, than someone with a college degree. See, because if we go back to that list of the worst performing majors, at the low end, family consumer sciences, $32,000 a year. Let me give you a very quick comparison. In Los Angeles, for a while now, minimum wage has been $15 an hour. Over a 40-hour per week work schedule, over a year, that minimum wage job would pay out $31,200. So, what I just said is that being a minimum wage worker that will require no college degree will pay as much as one of these life sciences degrees do 5 years out of school. That is not a good trade-off. You don't want to do that. If you're going to be working like that, don't do it. Like, if you're going to be making $30,000 a year, skip school, just become a barista. I am not even joking at that point. Like, save yourself the hassle and the effort. I guarantee you'll meet just as many people being a barista as you would going to college. You join a meetup group or two so you can still have a social experience. If you're going to be making $30,000 a year, $35,000 a year, after getting a degree, it's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. You should not do it. All of this is just talking about the financial side of things. Getting into the other, let's call it unintended impacts. Now, we'll get to that in a second. Now, something that perhaps I did not fully address, that I immediately mentioned the fact that I had to address later, is the concept of student loan debt. Now, on average, for a person's bachelor's degree, average person has $29,000 in debt. That's a lot of money. That's why people were so happy when President Biden announced student loan forgiveness and why they had been clamoring for months and even years leading up to it in order to get such a resolution passed. Carrying 5 figures worth of debt is not fun. Not in the slightest. But I also want to address those other, let's call them more glamorous careers. See, we always talk about lawyers, doctors, the high-end white or gold-collar workers who make 6 figures easy, the lifestyles that we wish we had. These dudes, the average person with a law degree has $165,000 of student loan debt upon graduating. The medical degree, $241,600. Dental school, $304,824. Veterinary medicine, $188,853. Pharmacy, $173,561. We're talking about 6 figures. In some cases, about $250,000. In dental school, more. I hate to break it to you, but that kind of means that their overall student loan debt will surpass their average annual salary. See, at least the average person who has an undergraduate degree, their overall debt is $29,000. I was kvetching, so to speak, about the idiocy of getting a life sciences degree that pays $32,000 after you finish. But again, let's assume that you get a law degree and you make $150,000. You still have $165,000 in student loan debt. Sure, you make a lot more, but you're also worth just as little, if not less. And people forget how net worths work. Someone can make more than you and yet still be poorer than you. I will repeat that. You can make more annually than someone else and still be poorer, financially speaking, than them. That happens quite a bit, in my opinion, far too often. See, because the way that we calculate net worth isn't just how you make your salary. You know, how much that is, if you have bonuses, commission schedules, whatever else. No. Net worth is your assets. I will do this very simply. Assets minus your liabilities, and we're not counting your primary residence. So if you make $165,000, or you make $150,000 a year, which is a very popular generic number that's thrown around for big law firms and new grads. On average, I again regret to inform you, the average for attorneys is not that. It's still around six figures, but it's not 150. But regardless, you make 150. You have savings of, let's say, 10, 20K. Yay, you're at 170. You have student loan debt of $165,000. If you have a car payment, if you have rent, whatever else, you're back at zero, if not negative. Yeah, there is a reason why a few months ago a CNBC article came out saying people who are making $250,000, I think it was a third of them, are living paycheck to paycheck. Well, this also gets into the concept of lifestyle creep, or because you think you're making more, you buy higher priced goods. I've discussed this in previous episodes. It's essentially a societal version of keeping up with the Joneses. I have a higher paying job now. I have to look the part. So instead of driving a Toyota, I'm going to drive a BMW. I have to look the part. So instead of living in the suburbs, I have to live in the city. Instead of getting a one bedroom, I have to get a condo. Whatever it is. You allow your lifestyle, your expenses, to keep track and keep up with how much you make. Your revenue, so to speak. That's a very good way to stay just as broke as you were before you got the raise, before you got the high-paying job. So if you are someone who is considering, let's say, going to law school, getting a medical degree, dental school, nursing, whatever it is, I will say this as kindly as I can. If you cannot guarantee either a starting salary when you finish, significantly more than your student loans, or significant amounts of scholarships, grants, not loans, that are given to you in order to get your degree, I would strongly reconsider A, getting the degree, or B, where you apply. If you're aiming for a top 14 law school, because that's generally the thing, I know how this works. Again, the undergrad degree is in political science. I took the LSAT. It's the whole thing. I get it. Maybe you shoot for a top 25 law school instead of a top 14 one. Again, these are financial decisions that impact you down the line. Because carrying debt is not fun. In the slightest. It makes acquiring new things hard. The interest rates that you get whenever you open up a new credit card might be higher. Might be declined when you apply for a different loan. It might be declined when you try to apply for an apartment or a condo or a house, whatever it is. Carrying debt, and large amounts of it, impacts you down the line. But it also impacts you socially. Now, something that I brought up in episodes 7 and 8, Selling the Dream, was let's call it social reason for why people spend as much on luxury goods. It's because they want to look the part to a potential romantic partner. They want to look attractive to them, so they look the part, proverbially speaking. Now, we know, generally speaking, obviously there are exceptions here, but we joke in society that, yeah, the more you make, the more attractive you are. That's a commonly known thing. Did you know that having a low credit score and carrying debt is, roughly speaking, as equally unattractive? I would wager to say that a good portion of you have never thought of that. See, a Finance Buzz survey that was done said 30% of respondents said they would have a less favorable view of a person if they learned that they had a lot of debt. Everything else about you is the same, but you have debt, immediately the 30% of people think less of you. Why? Because you hear that someone carries a lot of debt, you think they have poor spending habits, they're bad with money, and if you're looking for a potential life partner, the point of serious dating, you don't want that, because life is expensive, especially if you want to buy a home, one day have kids, whatever it is. You want someone that you know, reasonably speaking, or at least think, if you're starting to date, is good with money. So if you, in conversations, you've been dating for a while, whatever it is, and it's discovered or revealed that you have a low credit score, that you carry a lot of debt, that can harm you romantically. And, we can do this from a different survey too. There was a survey done by Lending Tree. They surveyed a couple thousand people, and they asked about people who had certain levels of debt at different levels, going up to those that had debt above their income. And if you remember what I was just talking about lawyers and doctors, that includes you guys. So don't think that just because you're making six figures, you're safe from this. You make good money, but you're also spending good money servicing that debt. Even if you somehow manage some portion of the student loan forgiveness, 10, 20K, whatever it is, all of those figures I gave you were above six figures, so you're still in the red. This doesn't work as well for you. The Lending Tree survey was fascinating. They gave people generic headshots of fictional people. Now, obviously, with different people, they would give them a similar headshot, but a different fictional backstory. And they discussed, as part of the look of the fictional person, each character's background, their debt, and their income, and then they asked them to rate their attractiveness again. So they were asked how attractive the person was just looking at a picture of them, and then again after they told them what their debt and income was. Man's attractiveness went up when his debt was no more than half his income. When a man's income debt were the same, attractiveness drops considerably. With women, the results aren't as significant. This should come as no shock. I've kind of made this a very fair point in all of the episodes. A man's financial success is far more important in the romantic world, in the traditional social sense, than a woman's is. According to the survey, 65% of women surveyed considered a man's employment status to be extremely important, whereas only 32% of men said the same. So half as many men said that the woman's employment status was as important. That's not something to be mad about. A generation or two of social posturing doesn't change inherent human physiology, biology, and psychology. You can't outwork human instinct. I regret to inform you, you can posture as much as you like, but women prefer men who are stable and can provide. This is how we have worked for millennia. Talking in circles socially is not going to change anything. Now, they continued discussion, and they got to the question of, would you date someone with bad credit? The answer was, okay, sure, we might date them. They asked them again, would you marry someone with bad credit? The answer, that number shot down. Yeah, it plummeted. Yeah, we might date you, sure, maybe you're a nice guy, you have a good sense of humor, but marry you? That's a tough one. I think I hear my phone ringing, huh? Instantaneously, your odds got shot. And this, again, is not something to be mad about. Like, we can be mildly upset just because we've done such a horrible job at promoting alternatives to schools and just discussing, how important college is. But the overall lack of financial education and planning has not helped people. A lot of Americans, I've discussed this for a few weeks too, we have record consumer debt levels. And this includes credit card debt, student loan debt, all the other fun things. So if you remember what I said at the beginning of the survey, this includes all of their personal debt, not just their student loan debt. So if you have a student loan debt alone that exceeds your personal income, you playing this game on legendary. Like, your odds of winning, very low. You might do it if you're an expert at the dating game, but your odds went down. I would not recommend. That's just the fact. So, again, if you're a young person who's in school, you're thinking about going to school, really consider this. Because the decision that you make, to go to college campus for, on average, 5 to 7 years, to get a degree, enter into the real world at your early 20s, let's say 23 to 25, you begin working, possibly begin dating seriously. You now have two major issues to worry about if you're someone who has as much student debt as their wages, or just someone who's not making much because you've got a low-paying major. A, how do you support yourself, principally speaking? How can you afford the lifestyle that you want? How can you afford to live below your means if you're already not making much to afford even the most basic of things? And two, how do you make yourself attractive in the romantic sense of the word? Now, as much as I would like to just be one of those dating gurus that says, if you have a nice personality and you have a good sense of humor, you treat them right and you're attractive, it'll all be fine for you. No. One of the biggest reasons for divorce, I think it's actually the biggest reason for divorce ahead of sex-related issues, is finance issues or money problems. One of the biggest reasons for divorce is issues with money. And this is for married couples. If you're already perceivably bad with money by having high levels of debt before you even get married, it lowers your chances of being deemed attractive. See, and that's why I try to focus so much on those intertwining aspects of the world. Because getting a degree, getting a job, carrying debt is not just a financial issue. It has massive financial implications, but it impacts you in more ways than you can imagine. Having high levels of debt and a poor-paying job can set you back socially far more than it can economically. And that is a very under-discussed issue because we don't like addressing stereotypes, so to speak, especially around dating. Like, people are only looking for money. Again, fine, you're not only looking for money, but yes, most people in the dating process, in the serious dating process, do look at your financial health as another variable in determining whether or not they should be with you in any long-term capacity. Even if they are with you in a long-term capacity, again, according to the people that were asked, if you have bad credit, even if they're in a relationship with you, they might already be eyeing the exit. Just getting started, they might have one foot out the door. I think that's a poor way to date. That's the one social comment I'll make on the topic. If you don't think that you'll marry a person, maybe don't be in a long-term relationship with them. That's just me. But that's something to be aware of. That every decision that you make, even as an 18-year-old, you're in high school, you're finishing high school and determining what to do with your life. The decisions that you make in what career you will pursue, what school you attend, what level of schooling you attend first, impacts you for the rest of your life, economically and romantically. So be very prudent in how you make this decision. Now, thankfully, as education and access to different insights and knowledge has become more accessible, podcasts, online courses, not the weird ones that are sold, but like Udemy, Coursera, Khan Academy, things that can teach you skills, like really, you can get certificates in. Those are fine. So if you ever want to continue your education as a way of potentially shifting careers, if you need to, fully support it. Absolutely. I've taken certificate programs, a couple from Udemy. I fully support this. Continuing your education is always a good idea. I would recommend considering this more seriously. So for someone who's already in college, perhaps my words of advice aren't as useful, especially if you're an upperclassman. However, you might still have time to pivot if you are there, or even if you're too late to pivot or you don't want to pivot, hopefully at least being aware of the issues you might face allow you to pivot properly in facing them so that you can address them, so you can get your shoulders squared, roll with the punches. If that means that you need to better address how you budget, how you can live below your means, how you save, how you invest, have that planned out ahead of time if you're already in a position where you're done with your degree. If you're in your underclassmen stages, or you're someone who's a senior in high school or lower, still obviously start learning about budgeting, living below your means, saving, and investing. But also take serious consideration into how you address, how you tackle the next stage of your life. Again, I will end this much the same way I started it. As the guy with 2 degrees over his shoulders, I'm not in a position to talk you out of going to school entirely and tell you that it's worthless. I can't do that. That would be very facetious. However, I can warn you. I can at least encourage you to do things in a more efficient and intelligent way. Again, I went to community college. I have absolutely no regrets about going to community college. I met some amazing people in community college, some that I kept in touch with for years after the fact. Most recently, a guy that I had met there and reached out a month or two back. These are still relationships. These are real people, just like at a public university or private university. These people that you can form relationships with, have experiences with, make memories with. But it costs a lot less. And in the immediate term, that is a burden that you will not have to deal with. Saving. And if you remember those in-state numbers, in-state community colleges, in-state public school, that's still $5,000 a year. So if you spend 2 years going to community college, that's $10,000 right there. I don't know too many people who would object to having an extra $10,000. I really don't. If you're one of those people, if Jeff Bezos is listening to me right now, okay, maybe. But for the average person, $10,000 is a significant amount of money to have in their bank account that they can spend on basic necessities or luxuries if they so choose. That is a choice that you should be willing to make. And again, when you do transfer, there's no asterisk on your diploma. You're not less of a graduate because you started somewhere else. When you get your degree, when you walk across the stage, you shake hands with people, they don't announce that you had transferred. No one knows. When you're sitting with all of your classmates, all of your peers, they don't know that you transferred, unless they personally know you and you told them. They just know that you're in the same college as them, that you or graduating the same day as them, that your name is in the same little booklet as theirs is. You're not any less of a student or of a person because you went to community college first. There's absolutely no problems with it. So when you address, or one day if you're a parent, or if you're a parent who's listening, and your child is in, at this point, middle school or high school, consider this. Instead of forcing them or trying to indoctrinate them with this idea that going to university is the end-all be-all for making a living, have a real conversation with them about what their interests are, about what's good for them. Not what you think is good for them, but what actually is good for them. And talk to them about if they want to go to a traditional route of going to university, but going to community college first, if they can't immediately get scholarships for it. Or if going to college as a whole, in the traditional sense, isn't for them, how about a technical institute, a career college, a vocational institute, whatever you want to call it? Being a blue-collar worker. Have that conversation with them. It might not be as glamorous. Sure, we don't idolize HVAC technicians or plumbers as much as we might engineers or accountants, lawyers or doctors. But these are good, hardworking people who can afford to sustain themselves, contribute to society, support a family. There's nothing wrong with it. They're not less of people for it. But we need to stop trivializing blue-collar work and only focusing on the white-collar work. With that, that is all that I have for everyone today. Thank you again for tuning in. I really do enjoy doing these. It's been a lot of fun for me. I will see all of you on Friday. I hope you enjoy the few days before then. I will talk to you soon.